Welcome to Creepy Riddles Volume 22. If you have a guess as to the answer to the riddles in this video, leave it in the comments below. Check back a week after this video's release for the answers to all the riddles presented in this video. Enjoy. Number 1.
I never considered myself much of a writer, but I started recently and I have to say I really enjoy it. And I think I'm better at it than I once thought. I'm currently in the middle of writing a book now and I have so many ideas. I think I'm going to kill off a few characters to make things interesting. Can you imagine how readers will react? This is going to be the #1 selling autobiography in the country.
Number 2.
I always read these creepy stories about different people with scary powers, like being able to hear people's thoughts, predicting when someone will die, all this creepy stuff. I have something like that too, but nowhere near as useful or scary. When I was younger, I heard my mother and father say something in my head, but they insisted they didn't say it. 1 year later, I heard the exact conversation the way I heard it in my head a year before. At first, I chalked it up to déjà vu, but it kept happening over and over again. I'd hear something in my head, clear as day. A conversation, a phrase, an argument, whatever it was. And a year later, it would actually happen. Almost like a lamer version of telling the future, I guess. And I would hear it from everyone. Random people, snippets of conversation from passerbys on the street that would take place 1 year from now. Such a weird power I had. I think I grew out of it or something recently, though. I don't think I have the power anymore.
Number 3.
There was one of those psychic machines at a local carnival that claimed to tell you how to avoid your death. A few of my friends had tried it and we were laughing about some of the answers they got. My friend Bill got a message that said, "Walk home." Another one of my friends, Larry, got one that said, "No swim." He said it didn't bother him, but I know he was lying because that whole week he stayed out of the water. What a wuss. On a whim, I tried it. I put my quarters in, and the machine didn't work. I just got a message that said, "I'm full." My friends offered to grab one of the maintenance guys to go empty the coins from the machine so I could try again, but I said don't bother. I went home that evening, and as my wife was cooking dinner, I told her the whole story. She seemed a little freaked out, but I told her that those machines are bogus.
Number 4.
The zombie apocalypse is difficult. The group I'm with is efficient, though. We move across the country together, trying to find things to eat, trying to find survivors. We don't argue. There aren't any fights over leadership or opinion. The only nagging thought in my head is my family. I wonder if they're still out there somewhere. I haven't seen them since long before this whole thing started, and I've been wondering where they are ever since. I would love for them to join us. I hope I can see them again one day.
Number 5.
Bless me, Father. The deep voice bellowed from the confessional booth. The priest stumbled out and onto the church floor, looking back in horror. A dark, humanoid-looking creature stepped out of the booth, its hand large and sharp, its eyes yellow and glinting, its teeth white and shiny like knives. It took a step toward the priest. He began praying out loud and held up his cross to the creature, which continued to slowly make its way towards him. "I do not fear you," the priest cried. God would not allow such a disgusting creature into his house. He will remove such abhorrent beings from his presence. Exactly, the creature snarled as it leapt onto the priest, tearing him to shreds.
Number 6.
I bought a cheapo black and white security camera to mount outside my house because I suspected one of my neighbors was allowing her dog to poop on my lawn and not cleaning it up. I set the stupid thing up. It definitely was not as easy as the commercial or manual had made it out to be. I finally had it set up and pointed it in the direction I wanted. The first day when I observed the footage, I saw the neighbor in question walking her dog in front of my house. I kept on waiting and waiting for the dog to poop and her to not pick it up, so I'd have some video evidence, but it never happened. I kept alert though, and I checked the footage every day, but still there was nothing. There was one weird thing that happened though. One evening I checked the footage from the previous night. I didn't typically look at the nighttime footage because there really wasn't anything going on. But when I looked, I saw multiple yellow eyes staring at the camera from the woods across the street. It freaked me out at first, but there is a lot of wildlife near my home, so I chalked it up to being a pack of deer or coyote or something. But one of these days I'll catch my neighbor not picking up after her dog.
Number 7.
I used to run communications for astronauts going to space. There was one event that made me quit. On November 1st, the shuttle left Earth carrying 5 astronauts en route to the space station for routine maintenance. The next day, they came in close proximity with a foreign space object, and the entire crew began to feel ill. I had to stay on comms and hear the entire crew for the next 5 days slowly get worse and worse with the unknown illness. They were groaning, praying, telling their family they loved them. And eventually it descended into full-on screams as the spaceborne sickness began to overtake them and cause them immeasurable pain and agony. Imagine having to hear those things through a headset. It messed me up. I thought I might feel better after reading the official report, but it didn't make me feel any better. It just made the whole incident seem so clinical. November 1st. Nova 1 launched with 5 souls on board. November 2nd. Nova 1 came in contact with an unknown space-originated illness. By November 4th, the entire crew of Nova 1 was deceased. Studies and forensics reports still are working to uncover what the cause of death really was, and the nature of the mysterious disease. I quit shortly after all that happened, but it still freaks me out to know that there is some horrible disease flying out there in space that can affect any one of us, leading to our painful and agonizing demise.
Number 8.
I had a friend who claimed he could tell me exactly how someone was going to die. I figured he was reading too many creepypastas, or maybe listening to some of those creepy riddle videos. Those have a tendency to get in your head. But he said no, he was being serious. He's had the power since he was little. "Let me show you," he said. He pointed to a random guy walking across the street. "He's going to drown." Sure enough, by the following week, the local news reported the drowning of a man in town. And when they showed the picture, it was the same guy. I couldn't believe it. I had to have him demonstrate it again. "Okay," he sighed. He pointed at a woman. "She's going to fall out of her apartment building." Sure enough, The following week, the woman was reported dead by the local paper. Police determined it was a suicide by jumping out the apartment window. I mean, it's not the most desirable superpower by any means. I lost touch with him, but years later I saw a large news article on him. Turns out he was a hoax.
Number 9.
Something funny happened in class today. Some weirdo got in trouble. His name is Todd, and he's always been very strange. But it's pretty obvious he has a crush on this girl in our algebra class, Kathy. He passed her a note and the teacher saw, so the teacher made her read the note out loud for everyone to hear. The note said, "Skip school tomorrow." Did this weirdo really think that Kathy was going to cut school to hang out with him? I could tell she was pretty embarrassed, and the whole class laughed. I can't wait to tell everyone else tomorrow, if they haven't heard already.
Number 10.
I stare at him through the glass, his eyes focused on mine, but I can't tell if he really sees me, or if he's looking right through me. Those are the eyes of a killer. I know it. Someone who, given the opportunity, would end my life in an instant. I know that look. It gives me chills just thinking about it. I splash water on my face, turn off the light, and leave the room. I hope you enjoyed this 22nd installment of my Creepy Riddle series. If you have guesses as to the riddle's answers, leave them in the comments below. Check back 1 week from today and I'll update the description of the video to show the answers to each riddle. Be sure to follow me on Twitter for more updates and news about when I'm releasing videos, as well as what kind of videos will be coming up in the future. If you want to support me more, you can check out my Patreon or my merch store, all of which is linked below. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. His sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit as if it twists on itself, for a split second and then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is this sound and Squidward sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but as if the speakers were holes and the sound was coming through from the other side. As good as sound a studio likes to have, they don't purchase the equipment to be that good. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint, something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you'd have a hard time pinning it. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible.